Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 5 of the anime series Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis. Another kick-ass episode in this series, where we're pretty much picking up right where we left off. Favaro and Rita are stuck out on the ocean, and the big overhanging question that was sort of plaguing me with the cliffhanger of the previous episode was, what were they going to do next? Were they going to go back to that, seaside village and everything like that? And that's exactly what they did. They actually went and hunted down Bacchus, this god of sorts, and basically Favaro snuck up behind him, has his dagger at his throat, and wants recompense for having been led astray in the previous episode. The monsters that attacked them, and of course having Kaiser and Amira being kidnapped by the demons and all that kind of stuff. Favaro's plenty peeved, but Bacchus, actually being the dutiful god, I guess you could say, calls Favaro's bluff and says, "Prove to me as payment, as your fare, to bring you, basically catch you up with the demons who are on the move with Amira and Kaiser respectively. Pay your fare by showing me how much this means to you," that kind of thing. And Favaro basically destroys his bounty hunter armband, which was quite a surprise, I have to say, because Bacchus basically tells him, we'll get you there, but this is the last you're ever going to have an encounter with me. And he and Rita basically sneak aboard this giant floating, almost living organism-looking castle, this demon fortress or whatever you want to call it, skyborn as it may be, because, as it turns out, the demon Azazel is trying to get to this place called Kakitas or something like that. All the while this is going on, we find, as we catch up with Amira and Kaiser, that Amira is being tortured, effectively, trying to get her, because her energy has been sapped. So they figure with her so weak, they should be able to get answers out of her. They pretty much are of the opinion that she couldn't have done any of this, stealing the God key and breaking out of heaven and all that kind of stuff, by herself. She must have had someone prompting her. She must have been doing it, with someone in tandem. And of course, basically, she will not say anything. Kaiser is screaming bloody murder to just, get them to stop trying to torture her and get answers out of her. It's of his opinion that it's all down to Favaro. He thinks Favaro is a genuine demon, that he must have corrupted this innocent girl, and to the absolute hilarity of Azazel and his fellow demons, Pazuzu and Cerberus, respectively, all find this hilarious that Kaiser is blaming Favaro. And then we have some interesting interaction, of course, with Azazel and Kaiser when Azazel realizes, hey, I think I know this guy. Oh, your father was such and such, and that other guy, Favaro, his father was such and such. So, of course, this brings sort of the character interactions full circle, because this guy, this demon Azazel, having been freed as a result of the relationships between the fathers of these two men, he's going to get off on the idea of Kaiser trying to murder Favaro out of vengeance, putting all the blame on Favaro himself without being aware that there were other machinations in play and all that kind of stuff. So, of course, he lets Kaiser free after a while, and Kaiser goes after Favaro. This is when Favaro and Rita have finally gotten aboard, and they get split up because, basically Rita has warned Favaro to watch his step, and he doesn't, and he falls down into what almost looks like, the bile-encased stomach of a giant creature. And soon thereafter, Kaiser comes a call, and this is where they're actually holding Amira as well. And Kaiser and Favaro just start duking it out. The whole time, Favaro's backpedaling. He's like, dude, look, we really got bigger things going on here. Let's get out of here first before we start trying to kill each other. And, of course, it takes the intervention of Rita, who finally catches up with him and kind of uses one of her zombie hands like a firing mechanism at Kaiser to knock him on his ass and stop him, so they can take stock of what the situation is and try to formulate a plan of escape and that kind of stuff. And at this point, we find out that the gateway to Coquitas, where, Azazel is trying to go with his moving vessel, has been cut off. It cuts off sort of the nose edge of his floating fortress, whatever it is. And it turns out that somebody has given a tip to Jeanne d'Arc and the Orleans Knights. They want to stop these demons in their tracks. They know that the one-winged demon girl, that being Amira, of course, who has this god key imbued and embodied within her, is on board, and it's their utmost sort of mission statement to get their hands on her and free her of that, whatever means they're going to have to do that, as I speculated in a previous video. Could this result in basically removing it and killing her, having to kill her in order to remove it? So, of course, I'm pitched on the edge of my seat watching the Orleans Knights firing all kinds of weapons, sending soldiers up on Dragonback and everything like that to attack this fortress and try to get Amira out of there, respectively. And at one point, Azazel has to send Pazuzu down to try to kick, Favreau and Kaiser's asses, get them out of the way, and get Amira, bring Amira up to him so they can, make off and everything like that. And it's the confrontation between Kaiser, Favreau, and Pazuzu that actually turns pretty badass, because they kind of put their differences aside long enough to best this giant hulking brute. You see, Favreau has noted that there's a chain and it's hooked to like a hook on a post and everything like that. They figure out if they run at him and they, use one of these big metallic cylinders, knock him on his ass, and then they cut the chain. They can use the chain to get up to the top where, they fell through the floor originally and escape, while also bringing down this giant cylindrical metallic thing on top of Pazuzu. And that's exactly how it plays out. And it was pretty awesome because, of course, as they're finally getting on the outside, they're confronted by Azazel, who's not, content with not having the last laugh. He tries to get his hands on Amira. And, of course, we see that this inexplicable, almost defense mechanism that unfolds when he tries to reach down to her and says, "Come to me." And she looks up with just the last of her energy. And maybe this is the God Key sort of protecting itself, and not necessarily Amira's powers of her own, of her own accord, but basically this blue energy explodes and it sends Azazel over the edge of the outside of this, vessel of his and everything. And he has this fleeting last word about understanding suddenly what it all means. And of course he phases out. I don't know if he goes to another dimension or if it killed him. I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure that's not the last we've seen of him. But whatever recognition he has is lost on pretty much we, the viewer, as well as Favreau, Kaiser, and Rita. And so basically from there we get this nice little callback as all four of them, basically Rita has demonized this dead dragon that had fallen across the bridge that they're standing on. And so they're making their getaway on the back of this thing, flying this zombified dragon. Brilliant as that is, sort of cascading toward the sunset. We have this nice little callback of Favreau's father's saying, which he revealed earlier in the episode to Rita, which made no sense, about which way does the wind blow? Toward the future. And of course, that last line is, Kaiser is asking Favreau where they're headed to, where they're going. And basically Favreau's like, with the wind. Toward the future. So, I can't wait to see what happens next, because I'm sure the Orleans Knights are still going to be on their coattails trying to get this one-winged demon girl, Amira, and, repurpose the God Key. We got a fleeting glimpse before the opening credits that basically was of all of these winged angels and such like that have created a barrier surrounding the dragon Bahamut, and they're very much afraid of the God Key, being utilized to free this dragon, which it's implied might destroy the entire world if this happens. The interesting thing being that just the fact that the God Key has been barely touched has somehow weakened their barrier. The sort of dragon Bahamut himself must be getting some sort of power up, or his power is strengthening just with this God Key not being under the control of the angels and gods of heaven and everything like that as it is. And that's absolutely compelling. I can't wait to see where we go from here, as I say. And I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this episode, if you've seen it, and where you think we're going from here. And so, otherwise, I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.